Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today I am super excited to share with you some epic plants in the garden. Here we are in early August in North Carolina Zone 7B, and we have got some plants that are absolutely killing it this year. So I'm going to share them with you because right here in North Carolina we deal with challenging conditions. Everybody has their own challenges. Some of the things that we deal with, right, with heavy clay soil, the heat, the humidity, tons of rain in the wintertime, right, those are kind of the conditions that we have. So I'm going to share these with you, and maybe you'll find one or two that you want to add to your garden. Some are annuals, some are perennials, some are shrubs. Now, so excited. I know that y'all thought I had absolutely lost my mind earlier in early summer when I transplanted this pink Cascade 2 butterfly bush from the display gardens at the nursery, and I moved it over here to the berm. It was the worst conditions really to do it because it was a hot sunny day, and as much as you try to get the roots, I did not get a lot, and she immediately wilted. But look at her now. Is she not spectacular? This butterfly bush, and this is why I wanted to move it, because last year I saw what it was doing as a 1-year-old plant, and I said, I want this in my garden. Look at these massive blooms right here. So of course there's a Cascade series of butterfly bushes from Walter's Gardens, and the Cascades do obviously have more of a Canada cascading feature to them. This is pink Cascade 2, beautiful, soft baby doll pink flowers. But dear heavens, this is after, last year we got her as a 1 gallon. If she was even a 1 gallon, she may have been smaller than a 1 gallon. We put her in the ground, then I moved her, set her back. Literally the only thing that has been done to this is water. That is it. Nothing else but pink Cascade 2. Now I do want to share with you these annuals, because these annuals are most definitely qualify as epic performers because they are so incredibly low maintenance and they are such vigorous plants. I was like, oh, I might even need to come in here and like shape some up because they're kind of going on everybody else. These are annuals, right? So you have the Senorita Blanca Cleome. I planted these, I think the same time I did the pink Cascade. You can see I planted these as 1 gallons, how they have filled in. They've done exactly what I wanted them to do in the fact of they've given me height in this bed and given me some privacy here on the fence. Now, the reason I say I might need to come in here and trim just a little bit is just a little bit here on the edges, because they're encroaching on my pufferfish, and so I kind of want to watch that just a little bit. Let her have room to breathe, the pufferfish, because the pufferfish as a shrub is going to take precedence over the annuals. So next year, if I do the Cleome, it'll be not as much and it'll be more in the back. Dear heavens to Betsy, this is why I absolutely love this plant. This is the Color Blaze Wicked Witch Coleus, because y'all, seriously, look. Is this not crazy how gorgeous this is? I have come through here maybe once or twice and pinched it back. I have not water soluble fertilized it. It is on irrigation, but only here recently. But a gorgeous, huge hedge. I will probably need to do the same thing. And that's the great thing about Coleus, is that it responds well to being pruned. Because if you remember when I planted it, I wanted to be careful that my golden Oakland holly had plenty of room for sun to get around it. And it's starting to get too shaded right here. So I can come in and just selectively prune my Coleus. You won't know that I've done it, but it'll open up and let some light back here. And then of course, sun patience. Sun patience are rock star performers for us in the garden. And yes, the elephant in the room, we have one rogue color. I have no idea. When we planted this was not doing this. I did not do this on purpose, but you know what? It is what it is, and I could come in here and rip it out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Just keep it real around here. All right, now we're gonna mosey on up here to the top of the berm. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with this space, This flower bed is not even a year old. We began construction on this privacy berm last October. Here it is August. Construction began in October, and I mean, there you go. It's crazy. So we did the shrubs and trees went in last winter, and then all of the perennials and any annuals went in this spring. Another rock star epic performer in the garden for us this year has been, without a doubt, the luminary. This is the ultraviolet phlox. Y'all, seriously, this plant has already bloomed really nice and big one time, and here we are getting a whole nother flush of flowers on it. Nice dark foliage. That's because we have great compost in here. That's where that compost blend that we mulched the top of the bed really helps and is doing great. Nice big phloxes. Great perennial, loves the sun. If you find that maybe yours in the beginning of the season, if you're struggling with powdery mildew, water. It needs more water, not on the plant itself, but in the roots. Cut it to the ground and it will reflush and be nice and happy. When plants are in stress, they become more susceptible to problems, right? Powdery mildew can be a problem for phlox. But so I personally have found if mine are not getting enough water in the early season, then maybe they're more susceptible to that powdery mildew. Cut them to the ground, they'll reflush and be gorgeous. All right, Tuscan gold heliopsis. All right, look at this, just gorgeous. This is a perennial from our friends Walter's Gardens Proven Winners. This Tuscan gold heliopsis has not stopped blooming since we put it in the ground. It has bloomed its head off all summer long. Absolutely gorgeous. I have not deadheaded it. I have not come in here to trim it. Some of them are a little laying down a little bit just because we've had some, summertime storms, right? With wind and rain, but it does not matter. They are absolutely beautiful, gorgeous plants. Love them. Hydrangea. This is Quickfire Fab. Quickfire Fab is going to be one of the earliest blooming hydrangeas. It is a panicle, so it loves the sun. We tried to get out here as early as we could in the morning, but the sun did beat us some. But look at this. In August, this is what this plant looks like. Beautiful, nice creamy panicles. You can see it's starting to get a little bit of a pink coloration on it, but it still has, it's still putting out some buds. That's why we love panicle hydrangeas, because you can see here we've got buds in all different stages. So that means I'm going to have beautiful pink creamy flowers all the way into the fall. So Quickfire Fab, it is more upright than it is wide. And I can't stress enough to you that this bed is less than a year old, because if you followed us, and it's not like a saying that I came up with, it's in the horticultural world, the first year the plants sleep, then they creep, and the third year they leap, meaning it takes plants a little bit of time to get adjusted to their new environment. So by year 3, that's when you really see their massive potential and what they're going to be. So we're not even into year 1. Can you imagine year 3? I cannot. This is what it just excites me so much, if you cannot tell. Okay, while we're here, let's just go ahead and hit this. This grass. This is new, relatively new on the market. This is a panicum. This is Niagara Falls. Perennial grass, right? Niagara Falls is going to be a 4 foot by 4 foot and nice columnar. That's why I chose to put it here in the berm, and I have it both on this side and then I have it on multiple areas down through on the other side. Beautiful, what I call like a blue-green foliage to it, and then these great heads. Like, look at those beautiful plumes, seed heads, whatever you want to call it. It is going to be sterile, so don't worry, you're not going to have 10 million little Niagara Falls all in your garden. But again, imagine it as a 4 by 4. This is year 1. This was planted in the spring. So I'm 5'2". So imagine, a 4 foot by 4 foot. We planted them so they would grow together. I mean, just gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, now Let's move on down here. And just because I don't talk about a plant does not mean that it's not a great performer. So don't take, sometimes I think y'all read too much into what I'm saying or what I'm not saying, and that is not the case at all. So another epic plant in the garden, without a doubt, is the Summerific Holy Grail. Now, all the Summerifics are amazing, amazing perennials. However, I just happen to have Holy Grail in this flower bed. Holy Grail is what we call a gumdrop hibiscus. So it is going to be wider than it is tall. Like some of the new ones that have come out are columnar, so they're very upright, kind of like the grass, right? This is kind of fat and wide, which is what we love. But look at that. Is that not just an absolutely stunning flower? Summerific hibiscus love to have lots of sun and loads of water. So they actually are considered a bog plant. So if you have a wet area, put some Summerifics in there. They will soak up that water and get massive. They are a native plant, so they are native to North America. They tend to be deer resistant. I'm trying to go through all the different specs on them. And each flower will last for one day. It's like a daylily, right? So it lasts for one day, but you have tons of buds that come out, and so you get a beautiful continuous display. The more water you give it, the longer it's going to bloom. So when you plant them in mass, they are beautiful. But you'll notice, right, Niagara Falls kind of all through here, just doing really well. A new plant on the market and for us is this Nepeta. This Nepeta is from our friends at Walter's Gardens. This is the chartreuse on the loose. These were planted as 1 gallon plants this spring, and they are really doing well. Now, yes, we have one little spot for some reason in that one in the middle that is struggling. Like that to me says something happened right there, right? That's not the plant itself. I don't know, did an animal come and use the bathroom? I don't know, but it'll be fine. We'll cut it out and it'll be fine. But look at this. Look how it's acting like a ground cover. Nepeta, of course, is very fragrant. It's kind of in that mint family, which makes it to be more deer resistant, and beautiful, nice blue flowers on it. Pollinators go nuts. So that is for sure doing super well. And then of course we have the Pugster pinker. Pugster pinker Buddleia butterfly bush is a nice petite butterfly bush. Now, last time we were in here, people were asking, can you deadhead your butterfly bushes? Absolutely. Like, that is not a problem. You can come in here and you can deadhead them. You don't have to deadhead them. If I were seeing this up close all the time, then maybe, yeah, I would come in here and deadhead them. But we see these from a distance. They say like a 2 to 3 by 2 to 3. Here in the South, we tend to go a little bit bigger. So definitely on a 3 by 3 size. Even when we had that Arctic blast in December, because these were in the ground then, I did not lose any of them, none. The one though that looked awful, like I was ready to replace it, I was ready to yank it out and replace it, was this one. It, for whatever reason, took a massive hit this winter and was very, very small. My mama was like, Jenny, just leave it, it'll be fine. Mama is right. So it has come back, and again, we're letting them go. We're just letting them do their thing, but nice, full flowers on them. If you want to come in and deadhead, you certainly can, but the Pugster series are doing just fantastic. Now, I think if there were ever one plant that has completely surprised me this summer, and for like all the good reasons, right? Excuse me, is this Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush. Our sweet friends at Spring Meadow Nursery last year, they sent me some plants, and so I asked if I could have a couple of plants that I was on the borderline for as far as my growing zone, both that I may be too hot for and that I may be too cold for. So they sent me this Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush. It was a 1 gallon. I put it in the ground. I mean, you were with me when we planted this. Y'all, look at this. Is this not spectacular? I mean, it is gorgeous. Smoke bushes, of course, they get their name because they'll put these plumes on it. It kind of reminds you of like the Niagara Falls grass. So it's that really kind of airy plume, So then when you look at it, it looks kind of like smoke is rising from the bush, hence its name, smoke bush. The Winecraft Gold has just performed its head off. I'm trying to see if I can see where the new growth, I don't think, because it wasn't pruned, so I don't have a cut. But when I say, I'll try to see if we can find a picture when we planted it, but it has like quadrupled in size, and it's still growing. It's got all this new growth on it. And then having it here, and I intentionally put it in front of the group of the Holy Grail because I thought that color contrast would just be gorgeous. And so far, yeah, it's not proving me wrong. It is doing great. So if you can get your hands on a Winecraft Gold smoke bush and you're in the South and you think, well, maybe too hot for it, no, this is doing really well. I did put it down here on the end because in the afternoon, the shade starts at the creek and works its way up. So where we just were, and we were in the shade, that gets hot, hot, hot afternoon sun, while this will start to go in the shade earlier. So I did that on purpose to try to give it a little bit of a break in the afternoon. It seems to have been working quite nicely so far. Let's see, we can't, come on this way. You cannot talk about an epic plant in the garden without talking about the famous, industry standard, classic hydrangea of Limelight. So these are Limelight hydrangeas that are just gorgeous. They have been here for, this is its third? I think this is the third summer in here. And Limelight, of course, gets nice and big, right? So I mean, it gets huge. I have one down further that's probably 12 feet tall. Massive panicle hydrangea that gives these gorgeous creamy blooms. It does bloom on new growth like all of your other panicle hydrangeas, so you can really cut it back every late winter. But these make a gorgeous display even when we're sitting up on the porch or when you're coming into the nursery. That's why we wanted to put these Limelights here, because they make such a huge display. I want to say there's 5 or 6 in here, and these are not on irrigation. No irrigation whatsoever. I do not water them. They simply get the rain, and there you go. But yeah, beautiful. And you can dry hydrangeas, like they dry really well. All you got to do is just cut them, make a vase, make sure you get all the green leaves off of them, put about 2 inches of water in your vase, and then just leave them alone, right? So you're gonna let all that water evaporate out of the vase, let them sit there, and they will dry and keep that beautiful creamy color. Coming down here, I wanna show you these epic performers in the entrance. This bed is performing better than the one that we just walked past. We're trying to figure out why, but you know, sometimes you can have beds that have the exact same plants in them, relatively in the exact same location, and one does better than the other. Even professionals struggle with that, but this bed, oh my word. So we've got the Suncredible sunflowers right here. They are finally taking off. They're finally doing some great, it was a struggle there for a while, y'all. But you can even see, if you're familiar with them, they're not as tall as they could be. They can be like a 4 foot tall, but graceful grasses, skyrocket grass. Now everything in here is an annual, right? Because this is the entrance, we change it up every year. This is on irrigation. Mass planting though of the graceful grasses, skyrocket grass, just rocking it out and performing its little head off. Then the one in front of that is the brand new Surefire begonia. This is Surefire White. It too is just rocking it out in here. And these are great because they'll do sun or shade. Nice full habit and doing really, really well. Every once in a while we'll get a rogue weed in here, and I'm like, how am I supposed to get in there and pull that weed without hurting the plants? It's a challenge. And then look at this, plum dandy. So plum dandy is a beautiful accent plant that is an annual, and this is what it does. It is similar as a coleus as far as it's not going to bloom, you're not going to get flowers off of it, but an absolutely beautiful contrast for that bright green of the Surefire Whites. And then because we are in early morning, This is the Mojave Yellow Portulaca, and I would definitely say that this is an epic plant for your garden, because if we were to come back here in an hour from now, once the sun has been on it, those blooms open up and they're huge. Pollinators love them, so you've got this gorgeous yellow carpet next to the plum dandy, then you've got the surefire whites and the grasses sticking up over there. I mean, just great, just absolutely great. Moving down to give you an update on this one. This one has been interesting, and so my little garden self can't do this with showing y'all my garden and talking about great plants without getting that massive weed out of there. So we have the coffee cups. There were 2 of these in here. For us, this will be a perennial. Now, whether or not we leave it in this bed for next year, I don't know. So what I could see us doing is digging it up and putting it, you know, by the pond or something like that. So coffee cups, massive. Look at those leaves on that. Just huge, huge blooms, blooms. Huge, gorgeous leaves on it that they're very upturned, right? So that's why it's called coffee cups. You can see they'll hold the water. If you don't have any of the diamond euphorbia in your garden, you are missing out. This is an amazing annual, and so there's 3 in the series. This is diamond snow, nice and tight white, easiest plant you will ever have in your garden. And then lemon blush. Look at that lemon blush caladium, just fantastic. I do adore caladiums. They really handle our heat and humidity well. They were struggling a little bit in the garden, and my gosh, the humidity hit and they were like, yahoo, and they absolutely have taken off. So if you're in the South like I am, or you just deal with a lot of humidity and heat, caladiums are a great annual for you to have in your garden. So, I mean, there is so much that is going on in here, and for plants to be performing like this in early August in North Carolina, they are most definitely considered epic garden plants, because they just can take the heat, they can take the humidity, they can take the neglect. When I say we are not out here fussing over these plants, we are not at all. Yes, the berm has irrigation. I turn it on once a week for maybe 30 minutes, and that is it, because they're nice and established. Planting at the right time and choosing the right plants for your garden will make a huge difference. So I hope that you have found some of those plants helpful. Maybe you have seen 1 or 2 that you're like, oh, I want to add that to my garden, whether it was a shrub, a perennial, or an annual. As always, we so appreciate you. Thank you so much for gardening with Creekside. We hope you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational. We'll see you on the next video. Bye, friends.